Where's the alternator?
Wipe the mud with the shirt I wore yesterday.
Is there an alternator?
That's interesting. Because there's no traditional 12 volt. Whatever charges the main 1.3.
Wait, is that is a turbo, isn't it?
Yes.
Tiny. That is a tiny, I didn't know if that was a turbo or a cat right there. But that is an itty bitty witty teeny Volvo S turbo, I guess turbo.
It's a shrinky dink turbo.
Size doesn't matter.
No, I heard it's just cold.
I heard Tommy Fenstermacher gets smaller when he gets hard.
Is it an innie?
I heard Tommy Fenstermacher takes remedial recess.
I heard Tommy Fenstermacher needs a bus pass for his mom to take him home. I'm just looking for the intake. I see mass air there, so it's breathing down there. Plastic intakes, Okay. All right, so your spark plugs you can get to, you just have to take off that. Okay, it's a bit of a more pain than I thought.
It's not DIY friendly. There's no dipstick for the transmission.
Oh, this. So what is this thing breathing to? That's a crankcase breather, and this breathes. It goes all the way. Wait a minute. What? What is that breathing to? Whatever it is, it's crinkly. Oh wait, that's a bit of a hard line with some sort of insulation sprayed on top of it. What? I guess to protect the heat from a computer box or a transformer or something for the EV. What is this breathing to? I mean, you have to pop those to get your spark plugs out. Odd. Very odd. All right, NVH, you can go back on top, being held in by 3 ball studs. Wait, no, ball studs. There you go, you're down there.
Ball stud, I think I'm in high school. So in a general sense, it's a turbo that doesn't really, I mean, I guess, what would you say, Will, in your experience with this car?
It's not sporty. The sport mode is useless. I don't know why they did it. I guess they did the 1.6 turbo because it's an old engine they had lying around from previous years. It's not that fast. It's not that exciting, and it's not supposed to be. It's a family car. But I think that was their way of fitting a smaller engine so we can shove that electrical unit onto the side without having to re-engineer anything.
I mean, this is where you refill your coolant because there's no cap here. So that's something. Why did they put it here and not here? Why did they put it here and not here? Were they really concerned and thinking about you for trying to change your headlight bulbs? I mean, thank you, I guess. Are they betting on this car being a lease car? Like you just lease it for a while and then get rid of it?
Maybe. I mean,
they don't want the owner to do any maintenance. There's no automatic ATF dipstick, even though it's a traditional 6-speed. You have to take a sample from under. The hex nut to refill is tiny. The coolant, you have to go to the dealership because nobody would certify that they can use it for this type of hybrid system. So it's really hard to find an aftermarket coolant. Yeah, they don't want you to touch the headlights.
well, in a way, this would technically be the inverse of the Ford Escape that we recently did, in the sense that that Escape, part of its appeal is the idea that you can do so many of your, or theoretically can do so many of your own repairs because so many parts are readily available. For this, it's like you're, you know, going on some sort of Lord of the Rings type quest to be able to find everything that you need to be able to do your own repairs. And even then, it's like this, how many people are going to be removing all this to get at, it's just this whole other bag of rats.
Hyundai Tucson, the parts counter will love you. I also noticed that the headlights are down here, that these are all just running lights or DRLs. So to get to your real headlights, I think you have to go through the wheel well, like you do in a first gen Honda Fit. Because there's no way you're gonna get all the way down there from all the way. No, the body's in the way. The body frame rails are in the way. So in order to change the headlights, you gotta take the wheel off.
So in a general sense, I guess, yeah, it's not, it's there. It's boring.
It's boring.
It's okay.
Yeah.
You
can say it. It's boring.
It's boring. But I mean, it's functional. And for me, you know, the bar is on the ground, basically. It's, as long as it can get over the hurdle of functionality, then that's something to commend it for. But by the same token, I don't know that I would necessarily be all that thrilled, even as a turbo, to take out something that is this nominally safe. Not safe in the actual not gonna die sense, but safe in the unchallenging sense, you know?
A lot of points of failure in this car, a lot of points of failure. Let's have a hybrid, which is already 2 engines in one, and let's slap a turbo on top of that. Man, you already have the electric boost, which is gonna give you way more than whatever that dinky little turbo. Why does the turbo need to be there? Is it because this engine, they just had it? Like, let's just stick it in because, hey, this will fit? Is this the hood release? I'm guessing this is the hood release.
Commenters and the professors of the internet will tell us, or research for us, I think this is the same 1.6 that's in the older Tucson, and also the Kona, I think it is.
Okay, that makes a whole lot more sense now. Because if this is the base model engine for the Kona and Nairo, the ICE version of them, okay, fine. 1.6 turbo for a little hatchback, fine. Yep, okay. It streamlines their entire process. They're already making this engine for the smaller ones. Let's just put it in this and give it some electric oomph. I wonder if the electric oomph for the hybrid versions of the Kona and the Nairo is this setup. But that's a smaller engine bay. So the packaging would have to be completely different.
Well, yeah, design-wise, it's like somebody took a bunch of uppers and then went buck wild in MS Paint. I mean, it's just kind of, graphic design is my passion. But I mean, it exists.
It's like they saw Volvo XC90 where they had a turbo supercharger and a plug-in. They said, okay, but we don't want to spend that much.
Kelly Blue Book values and something I know I'm gonna have a 500 above Kelly Blue Book.
All right, so I'm here with Brian. I'm going to play a little game of no lowballers with him. What are you anticipating will be the MSRP of this car in 2022 without going over?
Okay. So it's a mid-tier car from Hyundai. I still think this is going to be cheaper than my Nairo. Nairos, even on the used market, for low mileage ones, sometimes still hit 40,000. This is a hybrid, but it's larger, but I don't think this is a $40,000 car. I'm going to go $38,000.
Ooh, so close, 35. To be fair, I wouldn't have even gotten that close.
It's new! Isn't it nice? It has LED daytime running lights and there's little animations. This is the way of the future.
By way of stuff we already had 5 years ago.
I mean, yeah, it's an exercise in eating on mic and also repackaging something you already have as something new. I mean, I'm starting to see these things everywhere. Partially because of like the brand recognition with these LED dick root, kind of whatever you call those lines when people hike their pants down.
Hyundai Tucson hybrid for the man who's sexually aroused by paperwork.
It's like a shamrock shake. It's the same ingredients, but it looks different, so it's special. Welcome to the nice part of Newark.
Generally, I just find myself kind of disappointed by the lack of just tactile features because, you know, you want, whoa. Was someone unsheathed the sword from the stone or something? Like, what was that all about? And now we got these little Tesseract cube things here that, I mean, I guess are kind of performative futurism of, hey, look at us, we're the car of the future today. This right here diffuse. That will, as the verb says, diffuse air out from these little spores here, or not spores, these holes that will essentially get the air circulating and sort of, you know, create, in theory, more of a climate-controlled environment. But when you're sitting in the passenger seat, you don't actually feel it. It feels like the rumors of air, but not actually getting any, you know? I could understand this if you were trying to if you were in here alone and just trying to get air going once you're getting into a hot car.
It's like a polite burp versus one of those really loud ones that you're proud of, you know?
Now, you would think from these paddles right here, it's regenerative and all that other stuff happening right here, but no, it's literally just paddle shifting so that you're shifting gears with these bad boys right here. And it's funny because if you don't know that it's not regenerative and you start, you know, going for the regen, and then you find like, it's I don't know. It's a rude awakening, I suppose.
When I saw it, I thought, ooh, cool, Sega Ferrari 355 Challenge from back in the day. And then I tried it once and I never used it again.
Wonderful. So the phone call, you were saying that you can't actually make a call, you can only receive calls?
Right. Once you're in motion, it won't let you bring up your address book. You can only pick up a call, an incoming call. You can try to train the computer with the speech button over there for a voice command, but it's, again, as Nick said, it's over-engineering a problem that doesn't need to be fixed. And yeah, I don't know if that's an iPhone thing or an Android thing. I have an Android. It doesn't work for me when I try to call using that button.
Weird. I mean, it does have Apple CarPlay, so that's a plus in its column, but I don't know. I'm just bleh. Is this literally just like the parking cam?
Yeah, so that you can turn it on without putting it in reverse. Because, you know, as you heard, the reverse has that exceedingly loud thing. Oh, there's Brian.
Oh, there's Brian. Oh, look at him go. Hey, Brian. Hey. Can he see us? No. We just have his butt. All right. I mean, that's kind of a nice feature, I suppose.
You want to spy on someone?
No, well, I mean, I think of it in terms of like, because my mom has a Ford Explorer that has the rear-facing camera, and she's always having to put it in reverse to make sure that she has her car inside the parking lines, because where she lives, the parking authority is very totalitarian about where and how you can park. And if your bumper is so much as like this much over one of the lines, they'll ticket you for it. And so she's, you know, parking, go in reverse to look at the camera. All right, back a little more, look at the camera, blah, 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 blah. Now, granted, it's not that big of a deal, but it's just a little thing that maybe appeals to me and literally no other people. So
this is the mid trim. It doesn't have the fancy, when you turn on your signal, you get the camera feed in your dash. That was pretty neat since we're talking about cameras. The ride in this, some of the other reviewers say it's quieter than its contemporaries like the RAV4 or CRV, etc., etc. But no, in driving this is pretty noisy. It definitely isn't a Lexus, Lincoln, Mercedes product. It's loud. The lane keep assist is pretty intrusive, but that said, when there isn't that much traffic or if the lines are painted correctly, it is very helpful. You can kind of go on autopilot and just, actually on my way here, I spent most of it just letting it drive itself. Pretty good. There were some dicey moments, like when the curve happens and for a second there it doesn't know where the next line is, but you know, it's not full automation. You have to pay attention what the car's going on, your surroundings and what the car's doing in reaction to that surrounding. But for the longer stretches of the road, if you just want to like relax, check your phone for a bit, or just stretch out, burp, fart, whatever, it gives you that 2 seconds of freedom where you're not like, oh. This might be the only thing that's easy for you to maintain yourself. I hear horror stories of Prius and RAV4 owners having to pay to clean the air vent filter that cools off the battery. This is pretty easy to get to. A couple of hex screws, a couple of pipe cleaners or whatever, so you can clean this vent relatively easily.
Let's make like a tree and go. All right, so this is kind of going to be different to me for no other reason than because I don't really have a whole lot of experience with hybrids. I'm told, mostly by you, that it's a smoother ride than the internal combustion option. I'm going to take your word for that. This does feel somewhat propulsive in the sense that, clearly there's more hiding underneath the surface than what you might anticipate coming into it, but it's all sort of window dressing to distract from how boring it is. And realistically, I mean, if I always have this phrase that I keep coming back to, which is that if the worst that I can say about a car is that it's boring, then it's not that bad. But I just sort of feel like there's more that could be happening here. Now, maybe that's what the sport mode is intended to accomplish. But even as someone who sort of would theoretically desire more, I can't imagine having chosen this in the first place if that's really what I wanted. If I were someone who actually cared about performance in a family car, I mean, there's always
Audi, Porsche.
Yeah, exactly. This is going to be more affordable than those options, and so you're meeting it on a different level than you might expect.
Should I throw you into it?
Oh yeah, sure. Oh, okay. I feel this now because there is resistance. It wants me to. Well, I mean, is it a lane keeping?
No,
sort of thing?
it's totally just trying to trick you into thinking this is like a really tight, sporty car. And it's like, no, it isn't.
Like,
It's like the original DualShock controllers. Yeah, something's happening. Oh no.
Brush up with the new iPad. It's like kind of this strange sort of arcade steering wheel of, when you first start playing those arcade games with the steering wheel and they're all stiff, they're all like super, you can't really spin them around.
Or like the games that make the steering really hard for no purpose, like the original Daytona USA. It's like, I remember playing that as a kid, like, why is this so heavy? Because every other game is pretty simple.
It's like kids all just end up with jacked forearms from playing it. I kind of wanted to, I don't remember it being this one. Whoa, okay, cool. That was a surprise.
Yeah, it wants you to, in sport mode, it'll try to stay on the gas engine. Oops.
Oh,
a little longer. No, it's fine.
I will keep that in mind.
No, do it.
Well, no, because I'm I'm kind of not used to cars cars that I drive doing this, I suppose.
But notice though, it's only good till about 60. Then it kind of runs out of juice because it's still a small engine.
Yeah.
Not juice. Runs out of torque and power. But yeah, these coming from New York, some of these potholes are pretty bad, even compared to New York.
Yeah.
I've seen holes better filled on Pornhub.
Nice.
So yeah, Nick's being too nice about this car. It's boring, but it was cross-shopping competitors. RAV4 dealerships were, and the Honda CR-V, people were asking too much. A Nissan Rogue is, well, one, Nissan, two, it's just big Ultimate NG on stilts, right?
Yes.
That's what a Rogue is.
More or less.
Let's see, at the time, there was no Dodge Hornet, Alfa Romeo, Tonale, whatever. So if I wanted a hybrid or sporty family SUV, there really wasn't that many choices.
Yeah. But, I mean, also, this is something where, I mean, you were talking about, like, generally as a result of the chip shortage, that this was
all they had. This was the only thing that was available that didn't require paying extra obscene markup, and was available near the tri-state area.
And that's the thing. It's like they knew they had everybody by the balls to be able to charge these insane, absurd markups. Because if you wanted something new, it almost kind of reminds me from sort of researching these types of things of what the automotive industry was like in the immediate aftermath of World War II, when auto production was kickstarting again, and you know, everybody wanted new versions of cars because they've been driving the same thing for the better part of 5 years without any new models coming out. And now it's like, well, we know we have the American public, they'll buy anything, because if you want something newer than what you have now, you have to go with what we're offering you.
That's a great allegory, because to me, a lot of this flashy stuff is the wings and the jet engine turbine shaped stuff is like it's not functional. It's just pretty.
Yeah, it's performative futurism, or a cosmetic in that way, because it's like it wants you to think that it is more tech savvy and tech forward than it actually is, with all these touch screens and everything. And realistically, you're not getting something that is more dynamic in terms of, you know, options. I suppose you have a little bit more customization features in various outlets, like, you know, your settings, what the freaking voice control does, and all these other like little things that don't really contribute to overall quality of life in a meaningful way. There's just...
Or you get over it real quick because it's not really adding functionality.
In a material sense, I can see why this would be a good option as a family car that has a little bit of panache, but I guess I have to look at it in a way that is not historical, I guess, that isn't trying to compare this to other options that could be had, because realistically, I think this is probably the most affordable of this type of option, at least in terms of the trim level and, you know, the year and what you're getting. And wow, this is stiffening up a little bit.
You can throw it back if you want.
Oh no, I kind of
want to see.
Well, yeah, it's different. I can't imagine that it's something that I would want to have on long term. You know, it's just, it's different. It's a change from the norm.
When you're late picking up the kids, or you really got to make it to that next gas station to poop.
Yeah, it's like you're on the clock, you're crowning. I think I kind of see what you mean about it kind of ebbing away once you hit 60, because in a way it's theater. It's making you think that you have more power and potential than you might actually have. But I mean, it is a nice feeling. It has nice pull. There's like a good pull to it, and
it's trying to capture the old Honda from the 90s kind of thing, where it's like, oh, I'm screaming loud and I'm not going really fast, but it feels good, it sounds good. And it doesn't sound good, but it makes it feel like, hey, I can rev to the 10,000s or something. It really doesn't. It can't do what 90s Honda do. It's trying to make you believe that's what it's doing. There's good torque down low, but it once you get to about 60, 70, kind of runs out of the same oomph.
Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. Oh, okay. Not bad. Let me pass the Subaru, although I'm not sure I could. Oh, whoa, whoa, okay, cool. It was actually doing a pretty good number up this hill.
Yeah, the turbo kicks in, but once it runs out of gear, it'll slow down a bit.
So, tengo miedo de conducir esto, porque maybe I don't deserve better. But miedo de sentir bien, porque maybe I don't deserve better. Maybe I'm always going to be in a state of mind where I don't think I deserve better than SUVs, and that's why I always keep driving them. Maybe because they're an aspirational vehicle for me. Maybe I just think of ride height and storage capacity as something to aim for, to strive towards, because it means I can be more useful to the people I care about, loading up stuff and loading up people. But ultimately, I feel like this car is aiming for something that maybe it's not going to reach, because it wants to be that perfect middle ground between family car and something a bachelor can drive. I mean, it has a sports mode on it. Why? To what end is this being done? To what end does a sport mode contribute anything other than a placebo effect that makes you forget that you're actually married and have multiple children? No offense, man.
None taken.
Yeah, oh, cool.